We want to bring in CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano. She joins us now from outside the venue where Vice President Harris will be speaking later today. Lilia, it's great to see you. So let's talk about Harris. She's looking to win over Latino voters with these visits to Arizona and there in Nevada as we inch closer to Election Day. What are we expecting to hear from her today?
Hey there, Meg. Well, we expect for Vice President Harris to show up here at Craig Ranch and really rally those Latino voters. They make up 20% of the electorate here in the state of Nevada, which, as you know, is at this point a toss-up. Of course, that the campaign got some advantage with that demographic throughout this week after the comments at the Trump rally, but all of that has kind of backfired. What we expect will happen here is J-Lo is going to give some comments. She's going to be speaking at the rally. Which is perhaps the most famous, beloved Mexican rock en español or Spanish rock band, I would say, of my generation, the generation before, and perhaps the one after. So there's going to be a great deal of, music and energy, and of course, J-Lo showing up as a Puerto Rican speaking after the events that we saw unfold throughout this week. But there is a greater effort that has been playing out throughout the whole campaign. I'll talk to you about what the Culinary Union, which is one of the most powerful galvanizing forces for the Harris campaign in the state of Nevada. They told me that their plan is by Election Day to have knocked on 900,000 doors and spoken to at least 130,000 voters in the state of Nevada. The messaging continues to be from the campaign, let's all come together, despite that Biden gaffe, which, of course, the vice president has been trying to distance herself from throughout this whole week. She insists her campaign is the one that will unify voters, that she will be a president for all Americans, that she's against criticizing anyone because of who they vote for. But today, here, what we expect from both campaigns is to continue speaking to Latino voters who, of course, are not a voting bloc, but there were a lot of sentiments associated with the comments that played out over that Trump rally last weekend.
Well, Lily, as you mentioned, Vice President Harris has been trying to distance herself from President Biden following those garbage comments. Meanwhile, Trump seems to be capitalizing on the gaffe, saying the VP and president don't care about all Americans. How is Harris's campaign responding to Trump's latest rhetoric?
Part of her closing argument, which we expect to hear today, part of what she has been trying to bring home to land in her message has been that she is seeking for voters to help her bring to an end what she calls the era of divisiveness. She's trying to associate Trump with dividing people. Of course, the Trump campaign is basically saying that the Harris campaign is doing the same thing, and especially with this garbage comment. She says that President Biden already communicated that that's not what he meant, that he was talking about specific supporters, including that comedian, but that she intends to be the president for all people if she is elected, and that she hopes that, people will come together. She hopes to appoint, Republicans to her cabinet. These have been messages that she's tried to send, but of course both campaigns are really saying, look, our candidate is the one that's going to bring America together. One of the main points also here in this state that they're talking about, and that both campaigns or both candidates have supported, is the ending the taxes or federal taxes on tips. That is something that is widely popular in this state. As you know, where we are in Vegas, this is one of the biggest parts of the state's economy. And of course, a lot of workers work on tips. A lot of people who suffered throughout the pandemic, who lost jobs, who lost wages, and are now hearing that message from both campaigns. That is one point that they both agree on, is part of what we expect to hear from both of them today.
All right, Lilia Luciano for us in Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you.